pause. Okay, you guys, you guys have been with us on a couple of trips, and you've heard them talking.
Yes.
You've heard the wood knocking and stuff like that. And you thought it was us, but we were totally gone. We were pursuing a Bigfoot that Clay and I were pursuing a Bigfoot that had peeled around and was pursuing us, or following us. And so we were busy, probably at least 3/4 of a mile from where you guys were at. And you guys were hearing low mumbling, grumbling. What does it sound like?
It sounded like talking, but it was too far away to make out what the words were.
Yeah.
And so when I called out to you guys, it was just like, oh, and they stopped talking. So when I went down to investigate, there was nothing there.
And we were fairly close to where the cars were.
Yeah.
And so when we got back there, we thought that's where you guys were. You weren't there, and you didn't get back for a while after that. It was like 20 minutes. Something like that.
Yeah.
And you guys were having your own experience.
Yeah. One I don't think Clay will ever forget. And being stalked by a Bigfoot that he thought he was stalking. But, yeah. I have heard kind of mumbling in the brush before, but to me it sounded low and gruff, and you know, kind of like that. That's what it sounded like to me. But
it's funny because we thought it was you. Maybe they're imitating you.
Could be. Very well could be. Well, I'm sure there was.
Oh, there was definitely 2 or 3, because there was 2 that were bothering us because of the wood knocking on both sides of where we were, and then you guys were being whatever, you know, you and Clay were experiencing.
Yeah.
So that's at least 3 right there. 3 things that are happening all at the same time, roughly at the same time. And I thought there were people in there, but we drove around looking for people, and there were no. It wasn't like this. There were no people. There was nobody.
Yeah, we did. We went up and down the road looking for cars and stuff, and there's just no people. And what I want people to realize is that this particular area is only one way in and one way out, and the likelihood of backpackers being up in there so far is not real likely. I mean, they would have had to have hiked a very, very long ways. And
you got tired of the mosquitoes getting your legs, huh?
And backpackers also don't care if you catch up with them or find them.
No, they wouldn't be hiding.
Yeah, so and when we went down to check out the verbalizations and stuff, you would have found them.
Well, yeah, they probably would have called back or at least said something.
Or why would they be knocking trees on either side of us?
Yeah, and why would they stop talking and hide themselves when I call out to them?
Stop and go when you were stopping and going.
Yeah.
I mean, we were sitting there laughing. Ha ha, it's Bigfoot. Then all of a sudden it goes on this side, and we're like, oh crap. It's on both sides. They're on both sides of us. That I seriously thought there were people there, and there were no people. So I cannot explain that. I don't know. It was not a woodpecker, I can guarantee you.
Okay, do you remember when we went up there, Jan, you and I, and we was sitting there on the ground after putting up a camera, and that big, huge crashing noise?
Yeah.
Kind of describe that. What was that like?
Well, we'd hiked. We were actually pretty far up in there.
Yeah.
And we had just, I don't remember if it was our last camera or what you know how, but we'd been hanging cameras for a while. And I think you and I were just sitting there, kind of resting. And we heard. And I think that's the same day that we saw those big, huge prints.
Yes, it was.
That were going along. We were hiking along a trail, and we saw really deep, long prints going through that trail. And then we hung the cameras, and we were sitting there resting, and we heard that loud crashing sound, and it seems to me like, say, we were looking this direction, and we heard the sound, and we both turned and looked at the noise. And we're both like, did you hear that? Because it was so, you know, so strong sounding that you couldn't deny that it was something breaking trees down. You know, it wasn't just a natural, you know, piece of wood falling off a tree. You know what I mean? It was substantial.
To me, it sounded like almost like a car hitting. You know, that kind of an impact.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was a huge impact. I mean, it wasn't just a rock being thrown against if it was a rock in a tree, it was a boulder. You know, because it was on the order of a magnitude of a car hitting a tree or a telephone pole.
I think that was the same day we found that big, huge rock out in the middle of the grass.
Yeah.
That it looked like had just been thrown there.
Yeah. Grass was still under it and everything, so it hadn't been sitting there very long.
Something had carried a rock up that was at least 20-pound, 25-pound rock, and put it in the grass in the area where Clay had been hiking about a week earlier. Like as if maybe it was going to ambush Clay. Yeah. Yeah. And we were kind of laughing about that because, you know, it was so odd that rock was there. And I rolled it over, and it was on top of the grass. And if it had been there for, you know, any length of time, there would be no grass under it.